8 shocking archaeological discoveries that changed everything we know about human history. There are archaeological discoveries that astonish the entire world the moment they are brought up from beneath the earth. There are skeletons, tombs, ancient structures, and even tiny artifacts that may seem insignificant at first glance, yet they have kept scientists studying them for years without reaching a definitive explanation. There are excavations where the deeper archaeologists dig, the more gaps in history they uncover, along with new mysteries and questions that modern science still cannot answer. So, is what we know about humanity's past truly complete? Or is it only a tiny fragment of a much larger historical picture that has remained hidden by time for thousands or even millions of years? These are some of the most challenging questions that continue to puzzle archaeologists to this day. Hello and welcome back to Ancient History, where we explore the most fascinating secrets of the ancient world through remarkable archaeological discoveries. In today's journey, we'll uncover the 8 most shocking archaeological discoveries in the world, finds that not only stunned the scientific community, but also forced many researchers to reconsider what we have long believed about the history of human civilization. From a family of snails perfectly preserved in amber for 99 million years, to massive stone structures that no one has yet been able to explain exactly how they were built, to ancient tombs filled with mysterious artifacts that reveal customs once thought to exist only in legend, each discovery is like a priceless piece of a giant puzzle. Every one of them brings us a little closer to understanding the past while simultaneously opening the door to countless new mysteries. It's entirely possible that one of the discoveries you're about to see will change the way you think about the history of human civilization. So, join me as we travel back through time and uncover the extraordinary secrets that continue to challenge archaeologists around the world. 1,000-year-old jawbone washed ashore on an Australian beach. The missing piece, found 6 years later, left scientists stunned. Just imagine this scene. You're taking a peaceful morning walk along the beach. The waves gently roll onto the shore, a cool ocean breeze fills the air, and everything seems perfectly ordinary. Then, right at your feet, among the white sand and seaweed, you suddenly notice a human bone, weathered by time. What would you do? That is exactly what happened on the northern beaches of Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, where what appeared to be a small discovery ultimately led to a mystery that lasted for years, forcing scientists to reopen numerous archaeological and forensic case files. Even more remarkably, the newly discovered bone fit perfectly with a mysterious skull that had been found 6 years earlier, raising an intriguing question. Who was this ancient individual, and why had their remains washed up on the shores of Australia? To understand this story, we need to go back to September 14, 2014, when a passerby walking along Sydney's northern coastline unexpectedly discovered part of a human jawbone lying in the sand. Realizing it could be an important find, the person immediately contacted the police. The jawbone was soon sent to forensic specialists for examination. What surprised everyone was that after careful analysis, scientists determined that the jawbone matched perfectly with a human skull that had washed ashore at Mona Vale Beach back in 2008. 6 years had passed, and the case had seemed to reach a dead end. Then, unexpectedly, this crucial missing piece appeared, reconnecting the story and giving investigators new hope. When the skull was first discovered in 2008, researchers used radiocarbon dating to estimate its age. The initial results suggested that the remains dated to somewhere between AD 1200 and 1400. However, after conducting more detailed studies and comparing additional evidence, experts concluded that the skeleton actually dated to around AD 1001, making it more than 1,000 years old. The finding surprised many researchers because it is extremely rare for remains that old to be discovered washed up on a modern beach. But that led to an even bigger question. If the skeleton had existed for more than 1,000 years, how did it end up on a beach in Sydney? Did the remains belong to an ancient inhabitant of Australia? Or were they evidence of an extraordinary ocean voyage from a distant land? Those questions prompted anthropologists to investigate the skeleton's origins more closely. Based on their initial assessment, the skeletal remains did not display many of the characteristics typically associated with Australia's indigenous peoples. Instead, experts suggested they were more likely to have originated from Asia or islands in the Pacific region. If that hypothesis is correct, the discovery could open fascinating new questions about ancient maritime trade routes and long-distance human travel more than 1,000 years ago. Dr. Xanthi Mallet, a forensic anthropologist and senior lecturer in criminology and forensic science at the University of New England in Australia, also proposed an interesting theory. According to Dr. Mallet, the skull may once have been part of a private collection before somehow becoming separated from it. She suggested it was possible that the remains had fallen into the ocean from a ship, or that someone had attempted to bury them near the shoreline, only for waves and tides to gradually wash the bones out to sea before eventually carrying them back onto the beach. Of course, this remains only a hypothesis, and there is currently insufficient evidence to confirm it. Interestingly, Sydney's northern coastline is no stranger to significant archaeological discoveries. In 2005, utility workers carrying out construction projects uncovered the remains of an ancient Aboriginal man who later became known as the Narrabeen Man. Scientific analysis dated the skeleton to approximately 3,700 years ago, making it the oldest human skeleton ever discovered in the Sydney region. Researchers concluded that the man died after suffering a severe blow to the head and at least 3 stab wounds, revealing a violent story that unfolded thousands of years in the past. These discoveries have transformed Sydney's coastline into a place of great importance for both archaeologists and forensic scientists. Every bone fragment, every tooth, and every piece of a skull carried ashore by the ocean could preserve the story of someone who lived thousands of years ago. As you can see, sometimes a single jawbone is enough to reconnect with a discovery made years earlier, opening the door to an extensive investigation into the history, origins, and journey of a person who lived more than a millennium before our time. Even today, the true identity of these 1,000-year-old remains has not been fully determined. Yet perhaps it is precisely that mystery that makes this discovery more fascinating than ever. 281 mummies stacked inside a secret crypt in Italy. Imagine yourself stepping inside an ancient church standing alone on a mountaintop in Italy. Everything around you is quiet, historic, and seemingly ordinary. But beneath the floor of that church, behind a hidden door leading down into a crypt, you suddenly encounter a scene that would send chills down anyone's spine. Not 1 or 2 skeletons, but hundreds of human remains piled on top of one another like a giant pyramid, with many bodies still preserving their skin, hands, clothing, and even the posture of prayer, as if they had only just fallen into a peaceful sleep. What do you think happened to these people? A devastating epidemic? A mysterious disaster? Or perhaps a unique burial practice that history has almost forgotten? That is exactly the question archaeologists struggled to answer after discovering a mysterious crypt beneath Archaeological Church, located on a remote mountain in the Emilia-Romagna region of north-central Italy. This astonishing discovery was made during the restoration of the church. At first, no one expected that beneath this ancient religious structure there would be an enormous cemetery hidden for centuries. However, as the first layers of soil were removed, archaeologists began uncovering human remains, and the deeper they excavated, the more amazed they became. In total, approximately 281 bodies were discovered inside the crypt, including adults, children, and even infants. What makes this discovery truly remarkable is that around 1/3 of the bodies had been naturally mummified. According to Donato Labate and his colleagues from the Emilia-Romagna Archaeological Heritage Authority, around 100 mummies were preserved in almost complete condition. They believe these individuals belong to a community that lived in this region between approximately the 16th and 18th centuries, and such an extraordinary level of preservation is extremely rare. Just imagine it. After hundreds of years, many of these bodies still retain their skin, hand tendons, and even the shape of hands folded together in prayer. The sight must have been absolutely shocking for the first people who entered the crypt, wouldn't you agree? Even more remarkable is that not only the bodies, but also the clothing of the deceased remained surprisingly well preserved. The mummies were still wearing long robes, thick socks, and shawls. According to ancient clothing researchers Celanda Silvestri and Marta Cuoghi Costantini from the Emilia-Romagna Institute for Cultural Heritage, the garments were mainly made from wool, linen, and cotton, with different levels of thickness. The clothing was decorated quite simply around the neck and wrists, reflecting the modest lifestyle of the local community. Alongside the mummies, archaeologists also discovered numerous personal belongings, including rings, necklaces, religious medals, and crosses made from gold, silver, wood, stone, and glass. But that was still not the strangest discovery. Inside the crypt, Researchers also found several mice that had undergone natural mummification. They believe these animals may have died from toxic gases that accumulated inside the communal burial chamber and were later preserved because of the unusual conditions within the crypt. Another discovery that attracted significant attention from researchers was an ancient letter that remained remarkably well preserved. According to experts, it may have been a form of prayer or communication between the deceased and God. In the letter, the dead person asked for forgiveness for 5 sins they had committed before entering the afterlife. The more archaeologists studied the site, the better they understood how this unusual burial chamber was created. They believe that, at first, the crypt was used as a traditional cemetery. However, over time, deceased individuals continued to be dressed in full clothing, wrapped in burial cloth or shrouds, and lowered into the crypt through an opening located above the church. Because the bodies were dropped down from above, many were left in unusual positions. As centuries passed, the remains gradually accumulated and stacked on top of each other, eventually forming a massive structure resembling a pyramid. In addition, 2 openings in the walls of the crypt allowed air to circulate continuously. This ventilation system is believed to have played an important role in allowing the natural mummification process to occur without any artificial preservation techniques. Today, research at Archaeological is still ongoing. Scientists hope that through the analysis of diseases, tissues, teeth, DNA, and the 3D facial reconstruction of some mummies, they can better understand the lives, diets, hygiene conditions, and illnesses faced by this community. It can be said that the Archaeological crypt is not simply a place where hundreds of mummies were preserved. It is more like a time machine, allowing us to travel back and witness the lives of people who lived hundreds of years ago. And perhaps, hidden among the peaceful mountains of Italy, there are still other forgotten crypts waiting to reveal secrets even more astonishing than this one. Because that is the nature of the ancient world. It is always filled with mysteries that even experts may never completely unravel. 1,000-year-old golden tomb reveals a forgotten ancient empire in Panama. Did you know that hidden within the El Caño archaeological site in the Nata district, about 112 miles west of Panama City, lies an ancient burial ground that kept its secrets buried for centuries? It wasn't until recently, when archaeologists conducted an excavation covering roughly 1,076 square feet and reaching a depth of nearly 16.5 feet, that they uncovered a discovery revealing some of those astonishing secrets. According to the research team, beneath the ground, they found an ancient cemetery far larger than anyone had expected, belonging to the Cocle culture, a civilization that flourished in what is now Panama from around AD 700 to AD 1000. Surrounding the burial complex were walls constructed from striking basalt stone columns, creating a mysterious and sacred space. Even more remarkable were the carved stone figures depicting bound individuals seated in hunched positions. These unusual sculptures have led many experts to question their spiritual or ceremonial significance within this ancient culture. Were they symbols of captured prisoners, evidence of sacrificial rituals, or perhaps a message the ancient people intended to leave for future generations? But the surprises didn't end there. Beneath the stone structure, archaeologists uncovered 5 individual tombs, each richly decorated with exquisitely crafted gold ornaments. Inside were human remains accompanied by an extraordinary collection of grave goods, including precious gemstones, incense burners, ceremonial plates, and finely crafted bows and arrows. Together, these artifacts reflect the elite status of those buried there, as well as the remarkable craftsmanship achieved by the Cocle culture more than 1,000 years ago. Yet the discovery that truly stunned the excavation team was not those 5 tombs. It was the 6th. After removing the final layers of soil, archaeologists uncovered a burial containing the remains of 25 individuals, including a child. Based on the burial arrangement and the accompanying artifacts, researchers believe these were most likely people who held tremendous power and influence within Cocle society. This extraordinary discovery has not only given scientists a deeper understanding of the social structure, religious beliefs, and burial customs of the ancient Cocle people, but it has also raised new theories about the role of the ruling class in one of the most prosperous civilizations to flourish in Central America. Archaeologists have described this as one of Panama's most significant archaeological discoveries in the past 70 years. The importance of the site lies not only in its gold treasures or its rare artifacts, but also in the priceless historical information preserved within every object. Before this excavation, relatively little was known about the cultures that existed in Panama before the arrival of the Spanish colonizers. For that reason, each artifact recovered from the site serves as another vital piece of the puzzle, helping researchers reconstruct the daily life, religious beliefs, and social organization of the Cocle people more than 1,000 years ago. What's even more fascinating is that the El Caño archaeological site is located very close to the Sitio Conte archaeological site, long recognized as the principal burial center for high-ranking elites in Cocle society. The close connection between these two sites further strengthens the idea that this region once served as a major political and ceremonial center of the ancient Cocle civilization. The Cocle people are believed to have been descendants of Panama's earliest inhabitants, whose ancestors first settled in the region around 10,000 years ago. 300-room underground labyrinth that preserved centuries of history beneath France. Have you ever imagined that beneath a peaceful French village, with its quiet streets and rolling fields, there could be an entire hidden city underground? It sounds like something from an adventure novel, but it is a remarkable reality that has existed for centuries in the Somme region of northern France. This extraordinary site is known as the Naours Underground City, a hidden world beneath the surface that once sheltered thousands of people from war, raids, and the violent upheavals of history. From above, Naours appears completely ordinary. It is simply a quiet rural village located not far from the French city of Amiens. Yet beneath its unassuming streets lies an extensive network of tunnels stretching for several miles. Twisting passageways weave together like a massive labyrinth, leading to approximately 300 rooms carved directly into the soft chalk bedrock deep underground. Because of its astonishing scale, many people have come to describe Naours as a true underground city. What's especially fascinating is that the exact origins of the Naours tunnel system remain the subject of ongoing debate among researchers. However, most historians believe the complex was significantly expanded during the Middle Ages, when France frequently endured wars, feudal conflicts, and repeated raids. Faced with these constant threats, the local people devised an ingenious solution. Quietly, they dug deeper and deeper into the earth, gradually creating a secure refuge where they could protect their families and their possessions whenever danger approached. And the deeper archaeologists explored this underground labyrinth, the more amazed they became by the skill of its builders. Naours was far more than a simple network of tunnels for temporary shelter. Hidden below the surface was an almost completely self-sufficient community. The chambers were carefully organized, each serving a specific purpose. There were kitchens for preparing food, wells that supplied fresh water for daily life, animal stalls, storage rooms for food supplies, and even a small chapel where residents could gather to pray during their darkest moments. According to experts, the Naours labyrinth was capable of sheltering between 2,000 and 3,000 people at the same time, an extraordinary achievement for a structure built centuries ago. Even more impressive, the designers of Naours demonstrated a remarkable understanding of underground living. A carefully planned ventilation system kept fresh air circulating throughout the tunnels, making it possible for people to remain underground for extended periods. In addition, numerous concealed entrances and exits allowed residents to leave the complex whenever necessary without being detected by enemy forces. Thanks to these ingenious engineering solutions, entire communities could survive underground for days or even longer if conditions above ground remained too dangerous. But the story of Naours did not end with the Middle Ages. Hundreds of years later, when World War I erupted in the early 20th century, the underground city once again became part of history. The Somme region lies not far from the famous Somme battlefield, where one of the deadliest battles ever fought took place. During the rare breaks between combat, soldiers from Britain, Australia, Canada, and the United States visited the underground labyrinth. While they were there, they left behind remarkable traces of their presence by carving their names into the chalk walls. Thousands of inscriptions were carefully etched by hand, recording each soldier's name, military unit, and hometown. Over time, these carvings faded from memory. It wasn't until the early 21st century that researchers began conducting systematic surveys of the site. Their work uncovered more than 3,000 inscriptions left by soldiers from many different countries. By comparing the carvings with military records, historians were able to identify many of the individuals who had left their mark. What makes the discovery especially moving is that some of those soldiers were killed only weeks or months after carving their names into the cold stone walls. Those simple inscriptions, once overlooked, have become some of the final messages left behind by a generation forever shaped by war. Today, the Nior's underground city is one of France's best-known historical attractions and an invaluable archaeological and historical landmark. It not only helps scientists better understand everyday life during the Middle Ages, but also preserves authentic memories of World War I. If you ever have the opportunity to visit France, don't miss the chance to explore this extraordinary underground labyrinth for yourself. The Chinese general's tomb. With more than 70 wives, the truth that shocked archaeologists. The story began in the 1950s when a company was constructing a factory in the Ligny area and unexpectedly discovered traces of an ancient tomb. Around the burial site were 4 unusual small earth mounds. When workers used shovels to dig into these mounds, large stone slabs carved with exquisite dragon designs gradually emerged from the ground. Recognizing that this could be an important archaeological discovery, local archaeological authorities quickly arrived and began a systematic survey and excavation of the site. After examining the overall structure of the tomb and comparing it with historical records, many experts initially believed that it was indeed the tomb of General Luo Cheng, a famous figure from legends about the Tang dynasty. According to stories passed down through generations, Luo Cheng was a talented and fearless military commander who achieved great victories on the battlefield but suffered a tragic fate. He was said to have had more than 70 wives, yet he died at only 31 years old after being struck by an arrow during battle. His early death brought great sorrow to his family because Luo Cheng was considered the only man capable of carrying on the family lineage. Despite having many wives and concubines, he reportedly still had no son to continue his bloodline. If these legends were true, it would have been completely understandable that Luo Cheng's tomb became a target for grave robbers. As a famous general and a source of pride for his family, he would likely have been buried with countless treasures and valuable burial objects. Fearing that tomb raiders would find and destroy his final resting place, it was said that the family came up with a very unusual strategy. Each of his more than 70 wives supposedly built a separate tomb for him, creating numerous false burial sites so that thieves would never know which one contained the real grave of the legendary general. At first glance, all the evidence at the site seemed to support this theory. However, once the official excavation began, and archaeologists carefully removed layers of soil and stone while revealing the internal structure of the tomb, they began to notice that many details did not match the original assumption. The tomb was actually a large brick-built structure constructed in 3 layers from the inside outward, featuring architectural techniques characteristic of the Eastern Han Dynasty, a period hundreds of years earlier than the Tang Dynasty. The architectural style alone was enough for experts to conclude that this could not have been the tomb of Luo Cheng. Furthermore, the enormous scale of the structure indicated that its owner must have belonged to the highest levels of society, possibly even a king or a member of the royal family. The discoveries that followed made the mystery even more fascinating. Inside the tomb, the excavation team uncovered numerous nationally significant cultural artifacts. The most remarkable discovery was a jade burial suit sewn with gold thread, a rare ceremonial garment made from thousands of jade pieces connected with precious metal wire. In addition, archaeologists discovered around 40 ceramic artifacts, numerous ancient coins, turtle shell fragments, and many other valuable objects. All of these artifacts provided important information for studying the history and culture of ancient China. According to historical records, jade burial suits sewn with gold thread were extremely rare objects reserved only for emperors and members of the royal family during the Eastern Han Dynasty in China. This discovery completely changed the direction of the investigation. After comparing the findings with multiple historical sources, researchers determined that during the Eastern Han period, the Linyi region of Shandong province belonged to the territory of the Longye Kingdom. Therefore, the person buried in this tomb was most likely a king or a member of the Longye royal family. However, there was one major problem. Throughout the entire excavation process, archaeologists failed to find any stone inscription, burial tablet, or written record that clearly identified the person buried inside. Because of this lack of direct evidence, researchers have still been unable to determine the true identity of the tomb's owner. To this day, after decades of study, the mysterious tomb discovered in the 1950s remains one of the greatest unanswered questions in Chinese archaeology. The mysterious wine jar in a Ming prince's tomb that shocked archaeologists. What do you think would happen if one day you discovered a sealed wine jar buried inside a royal tomb for more than 4 centuries? What would remain inside? Just a small amount of liquid that had deteriorated over time, or a priceless treasure that ancient people intentionally preserved? If you still cannot imagine the answer, then join me as we travel to Yaoshan Village, Guilin City, Guangxi, China. Because it was here that archaeologists discovered a small porcelain jar that appeared ordinary at first glance, yet became the key to helping researchers uncover more about the mysterious life of a Ming dynasty prince, while also revealing a strange burial custom and medical practice once believed to have existed within the Chinese royal family. The story began in 1983. On that day, local residents suddenly heard a powerful explosion coming from an area near the foot of a mountain. Many immediately suspected that grave robbers had used explosives to break into an ancient tomb. Without hesitation, they reported the incident to the archaeological team of Guilin province, who quickly arrived to investigate the site. Upon arrival, archaeologists immediately began surveying the area and soon confirmed that the villagers' concerns were justified. Grave robbers had indeed used explosives to destroy the entrance of a royal tomb in an attempt to search for valuable artifacts. Fortunately, although the explosion damaged part of the structure, the main body of the tomb remained relatively well preserved. According to local accounts, this was believed to be the burial place of Prince Zhu Ludao, who was born in 1572 and died in 1590. He was the 8th son of Zhu Renchang, the Prince of Jingjiang, a feudal ruler under the Ming dynasty during the reign of the Hongwu Emperor, Zhu Yuanzhang. Historical records show that Zhu Ludao lived in Guilin and passed away at only 19 years old. However, what puzzled researchers for centuries was that historical documents never recorded the exact cause of his death. Although the young prince had been married for 4 years, he still had no heir, making his short life even more mysterious. What particularly impressed archaeologists was the exceptional quality of the tomb's construction. Despite being directly affected by modern explosives, the structure was not completely destroyed. This demonstrated that tomb-building techniques during the Ming dynasty had reached an extremely advanced level, strong enough to withstand powerful impacts that would surprise even people today. After months of clearing the site and conducting careful excavation, the archaeological team finally entered the main burial chamber. The tomb itself was relatively small, covering only about 108 square feet, but it contained many valuable artifacts. Researchers gradually uncovered gold and silver jewelry, ancient jade objects, and numerous burial items that clearly reflected the royal status of the Ming dynasty. However, the most remarkable discoveries were a pair of porcelain wine jars decorated with incredibly detailed 5-clawed dragon designs, a symbol traditionally reserved exclusively for the imperial family. Even more surprising was that, during an initial inspection, experts discovered that the 2 jars still contained liquid despite having remained underground for hundreds of years. The jars were immediately transported to a laboratory for further analysis. When specialists carefully opened the containers, everyone was stunned. Inside was not only ancient wine, but also the remains of 3 baby mice preserved in the liquid. After examination, researchers concluded that this was most likely baby mouse wine, a type of medicinal alcohol mentioned in various ancient Chinese records and legends. According to traditional beliefs, baby mouse wine was considered a medicinal drink that could strengthen the kidneys and improve male vitality. Because of this belief, some experts suggested that this may have been a drink favored by Prince Zhu Ludao, or something he consumed to improve his health. After his death, the wine may have been buried with him so that he could use it in the afterlife. Based on this unusual discovery, some researchers also speculated that the prince may have suffered from a kidney-related illness, which could have contributed to his death at such a young age. However, it is important to emphasize that this remains only an archaeological hypothesis, as no historical documents have confirmed the exact cause of Zhu Ludao's death. Modern scientific studies have shown that baby mice and the embryos of certain animals contain relatively high levels of protein, vitamins, and minerals. However, modern medicine has not proven that this type of wine provides the health benefits that ancient people once believed. Furthermore, mice are known carriers of many dangerous diseases, including plague, yellow fever, and other infectious illnesses. Therefore, modern nutrition experts strongly advise against consuming products made from mice due to potential health risks. To this day, the discovery inside Prince Zhu Ludao's tomb remains one of the strangest archaeological stories ever recorded in Guilin. From a small wine jar buried for more than 400 years, researchers gained valuable clues about the lifestyle, burial customs, and medical beliefs of the Ming Dynasty royal family. You see, sometimes the most ordinary-looking artifacts can become the key that unlocks the doors to secrets history has hidden for centuries. Fascinating, isn't it? 3 of the world's most mysterious ancient structures that have challenged modern science for centuries. We can build spacecraft, send robots to Mars, and scan almost the entire surface of Earth with satellites. Yet strangely enough, right here on the planet we call home, there are still ancient structures that modern science cannot fully explain. From the enormous stone circles of Senegambia in Senegal and Gambia, to the mysterious stone city of Great Zimbabwe in southern Africa, and the rock-hewn churches carved deep into mountains in Lalibela, Ethiopia, each site challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient history. Even after decades of research, archaeologists have still been unable to completely reconstruct the story of the civilizations that created these extraordinary masterpieces. So, who actually built them? How were they able to accomplish such incredible feats without modern machinery? And perhaps most importantly, why were these structures created in the first place? Join me as we follow the traces left behind by the past and explore 3 of the greatest mysteries in world archaeology. The first stop on our journey is the Senegambian Stone Circles, an archaeological complex stretching across Senegal and Gambia in West Africa. According to archaeologists, these structures were built between around 300 BC and AD 1600, covering an area of nearly 11,600 square miles. The sheer scale of this archaeological site is enough to amaze anyone. The entire area contains approximately 29,000 stone blocks, more than 17,000 monuments, and around 2,000 individual structures, including burial sites, ancient pottery fragments, and massive stone circles arranged in carefully organized groups. Each stone pillar stands about 6.5 feet tall on average and weighs up to 7 tons, yet they were all placed upright with astonishing precision. To this day, what puzzles scientists the most is not determining the age of the site, but understanding how ancient people created it. Extracting, transporting, and standing tens of thousands of multi-ton stones upright without modern machinery would have required a massive workforce, along with people who possessed deep knowledge of geology and construction techniques. For this reason, many experts believe that this region was once the center of a highly developed and prosperous society. However, the exact identity of the people who built this enormous stone complex, as well as the true purpose of these stone circles, remains an unsolved mystery. Leaving West Africa behind, our journey now takes us to the Republic of Zimbabwe in southern Africa, home to one of the world's most famous stone structures, Great Zimbabwe. Many people mistakenly believe that Zimbabwe was the name of an ancient kingdom. However, the name actually comes from an anglicized version of a local word meaning stone houses. According to archaeologists, Great Zimbabwe was built approximately 900 years ago and is famous for its dry stone construction technique, where massive stone blocks were carefully stacked together without the use of mortar. The entire complex covers an area of about 1,800 acres, with enormous curved stone walls that have survived remarkably well to this day. Experts estimate that construction continued for more than 300 years, and the city was once home to around 18,000 people. Although much of the site has been worn down by time, many of its towering walls still stand as powerful evidence of the extraordinary building skills of ancient Africans. Because of its exceptional historical value, Great Zimbabwe was recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. However, what continues to spark debate among archaeologists is the true purpose of this remarkable structure. Was it the capital of a powerful kingdom, a major religious center, or simply a residence for the ruling elite? To this day, no theory has provided enough evidence to completely answer these questions. And if the first two sites impress us with their scale and construction techniques, the final destination leaves the world amazed because of the extraordinary way it was created. This is the Lalibela rock-hewn church complex, located in the city of Lalibela, Ethiopia, a country in East Africa and one of the most sacred centers of Christianity on the continent. In the 12th century, after the holy city of Jerusalem fell under Muslim control, Christian pilgrimages became extremely difficult. Facing this situation, the king of Lalibela decided to create a new Jerusalem in his own homeland. According to historical records, the complex of 11 monolithic rock churches was carved continuously over a period of 24 years. What makes these churches truly extraordinary is that they were not assembled from separate blocks of stone. Instead, they were carved directly out of massive volcanic basalt rock using a top-down excavation method. Through the incredible skill of ancient craftsmen, enormous blocks of stone were gradually transformed into complete churches featuring entrances, windows, pillars, and intricate architectural details. The entire complex is also connected by a network of trenches and pathways carved through the rock, creating a unified architectural masterpiece that continues to amaze even modern engineers. Beyond being a remarkable achievement in construction, the Lalibela churches preserve immense historical and religious significance for Ethiopia. For centuries, they have remained an important pilgrimage destination for Christian believers. However, just like the Senegambian stone circles and Great Zimbabwe, many questions about the construction methods, workforce, and technical abilities of the builders remain unanswered. These three structures are located in different regions of Africa and were created during completely different periods of history, yet they all share one remarkable thing. They are powerful evidence of the extraordinary intelligence and creativity of ancient humans, while also reminding us that history still holds countless secrets waiting to be discovered. Perhaps somewhere among those massive stones that have stood for hundreds or even thousands of years, there are still answers hidden away, answers that modern science continues its endless search to uncover. Snail fossil, frozen for 99 million years in a remarkable moment. What do you think could survive almost perfectly preserved after 99 million years? A dinosaur skeleton, a fossilized leaf, or an ancient piece of amber? All of these are possible, but the discovery recently announced by scientists is far more extraordinary. Inside a piece of amber discovered in Myanmar, researchers found not only the oldest known fossil of an ancient land snail, but also an entire family of snails seemingly frozen in time at the exact moment when life had just begun. From what appeared to be a small and simple discovery, scientists gained valuable clues that could help them better understand the evolution of snails nearly 100 million years ago. This remarkable discovery was announced after researchers studied amber specimens dating back approximately 99 million years, which were found in Myanmar, a country located in Southeast Asia. Amber has long been considered a natural time capsule because fossilized tree resin has the unique ability to preserve small organisms trapped inside it almost perfectly. Thanks to this extraordinary feature, countless ancient insects, plants, and animals have been preserved for tens of millions of years. However, even experienced researchers never expected to encounter such a rare and incredible scene. At first, experts believed that they were simply examining the fossil of a single ancient snail. But after conducting a more detailed analysis, they discovered that the amber contained not just one snail, but an entire family. A mother snail and 5 newborn baby snails had been covered by flowing tree resin almost immediately after the young were born. In just a moment, the thick resin trapped the scene forever. Over millions of years, it hardened into amber, preserving this extraordinary snapshot of life for 99 million years. According to researchers, this is an extremely rare event that had almost never been recorded in the fossil record before. The amber did not simply preserve the bodies of these creatures. It captured a specific moment in the life cycle of an ancient snail species. This provided scientists with a priceless opportunity to study their reproductive behavior, something that ordinary fossils are rarely able to reveal. To examine the specimen in detail without damaging this precious fossil, the research team used high-resolution CT scanning technology. Thanks to this advanced technique, they determined that the snails preserved inside the amber belonged to the Cyclophoroidea family, a group of very small land snails. Their shells measured only about 0.5 inches in diameter, yet every tiny detail of their bodies remained astonishingly clear after nearly 100 million years. After further study, scientists named this snail species Cretatortulosa gignans, highlighting the incredible story of life preserved across tens of millions of years. The name also marks the discovery of one of the most extraordinary snail fossils ever found in the history of paleontological research. Evolutionary biologist Adrian Jochum from the Senckenberg Research Institute and the Natural History Museum Frankfurt stated that this was an exceptionally rare discovery. According to her, the baby snails were almost instantly covered by tree resin shortly after being born 99 million years ago, and the amazing fact is that they remained almost perfectly preserved until today. It was a rare moment when nature accidentally created a record of the past, almost like a photograph taken during the age of dinosaurs and delivered to modern humans nearly 100 million years later. Beyond its importance in fossil preservation, this discovery also helps scientists better understand the evolutionary history of snails. Based on the preserved characteristics, researchers discovered that Cretatortulosa gignans gave birth to live young rather than laying eggs. Unlike most snail species today, this is considered a highly remarkable evolutionary feature. Scientists believe that this reproductive strategy may have helped these ancient snails adapt better to tropical forest environments during the Cretaceous period, giving birth to fewer offspring while allowing each young snail to develop inside the mother's body may have increased their chances of survival in the harsh natural conditions of that era. As you can see, every archaeological discovery not only helps us understand more about the past, but also proves that human history still holds countless secrets waiting to be uncovered. Some mysteries have already been solved, but there are still many unanswered questions that scientists around the world continue to investigate in search of the truth. So, among the 8 discoveries we have explored today, which one surprised and impressed you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy fascinating stories about history and archaeology, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Ancient History, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our upcoming discoveries. For now, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again in the next journey through history.